Hi, and welcome to the Spiritual Awakener podcast. I'm so glad that you're here today listening to us because this is a moment in time when we all need to listen to our own inner guidance. The Spiritual Awakener is a podcast where I get to interview really cool people who are walking the talk. They're really living their life as I do, as a channel for spirit, but living the human existence that we all are. I can't wait to introduce you to my next lovely guest because I actually got to know her just a little while ago. I've been following her, looking at her, checking out her stuff, realizing what an amazing channel she was. So I decided to have a session with her. In fact, I had a few sessions with her. And then I invited her on my podcast because I felt that you would really benefit from the love that she gives and the incredible channel that she is. So please welcome Anna Larai to my podcast, The Spiritual Awakener. Anna Larai, thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited to have you and your team.
We're excited to be here too, and I just love working with you, Susan. So this is exciting, and I love what we're going to chat about. And hi,
Absolutely.
Glad to have you here.
And as I said before we started recording, usually these podcasts are about half an hour, but who knows what will happen in the world of spirit. Whatever they want to come through and give us today will come through, right? Yeah. So I like to ask my guests, was there a specific or pivotal moment in your life that led you to be who you are today? I know we have many, and I know we have these awakenings, but would you say that there was a story that you had that would really pinpoint it?
Oh, absolutely. It's still sort of the strongest point if I remember my journey, but I'm just going to back it up a little wee bit because there's a piece that sort of follows. When I started waking up, I was an atheist.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, like I went to
I never knew that.
I mean, I grew up in the church, in a Presbyterian church and all of that kind of stuff, but I didn't do communion, and I ignored. I reached a point in my life early in my teens where I was like, I don't believe any of this. And I can remember saying out loud, if there's a God, you show me or I'm done. And the funny thing is, I remember, I don't know what it was, that I was shown, but I ignored it all and just went into complete disbelief for many years in my life. And so I had nothing to do with any of that stuff.
Wow. And I was confirmed into the church and I had to do the whole communion thing, and it never sat with me, but it was the thing you just did. And I'm sure if you're listening to this, many of you may have been in that situation, whatever religion it was, and you just kind of go along with it. And that's a beautiful segue later on to what is happening in the world, And just to say, if you're listening to this, you may be listening on Apple or any other podcast platform, or you may be watching this as well on the YouTube or across Facebook. And we're actually recording this on the 14th of July, 2021. So unless you've been in a coma for the last year and a half, you'll know that there has been an amazing shift going on in the planet. Anyway, go ahead, Anna Larai, tell us your story.
So what happened was I picked up, I don't know if I bought it or someone gave me a book called The Celestine Prophecy.
Oh yeah.
And and people say it's not true, or it doesn't really matter. But what it did, it started, the piece in it that started for me was the coincidences. Yes. And there's all in the book that led them on their first journey. And what happened is I started seeing coincidences in my life. And of course, the more I looked, the more I saw. And that's where things started opening. And what that led me to is I was unemployed at that point in my life. I had left my job and I didn't know what I was going to do. It was the summer of 2002. And friends called me and said, we think you need to go to this retreat. And I'm like, what? And I was really it was starting to awaken up. And it was a 2-week silent retreat. The teacher was coming from Australia, and I live in Canada, and it was about a day's drive from where I was. So it was outside of Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And I looked at it and I was like, And then when I read the whole details, I had shivers go down my whole body, just electricity. And back then that would happen for me for divine truth. So it was my marker back then. Now they don't need to knock me on the head so much. And, and so I'm like, oh, okay. So it was.
But it's a good point. Just one sec, because if you're listening to this and you feel, you know, you sometimes get those shivers, or you feel this sense of energy running through you, then it could be that, just as Anna Larai says, you know, this was her indication. That could be your indication.
Yeah. And the interesting thing was, when I looked to register, I had been unemployed, you know, and it was going to be the end of my money. If I went, then my money wasn't lasting the next 6 months. I was done in 8 weeks. Yeah. So it was this, I don't know where I found this leap of faith. Okay.
Wow. So, do you know what? We've been there. I've been there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I signed up, I went, and it was silent. Well, I'm never silent. I'm a channel. And I like to talk. Yeah. But I knew I had to go. So I know no one. I go, all my friends and family think I'm absolutely nuts. Okay. Yeah. And I've never meditated. And I'm going on.
And they probably still do think you're nuts, as mine do.
Yes. A 14-day silent meditation retreat. So we get there, and whole series, it didn't end up being silent. The teacher was Latino, so she could never be silent. But one of the things that I'll tell you, 2 quick pieces that happened in it. So in these, it was about day 3. I had never meditated. I didn't know anything. I mean, anything. And on day 3, about day 3, we'd come out of meditation. All I do was fall asleep, right? There were 12 of us and the teacher, and they were all much older and had been in the spiritual business. They were healers and readers from New York City and all over the US. And they were the first wave of people who were doing all this. Yeah. And I knew nothing. And they'd come out and they'd say, well, I went to this ship and I saw this being. And I'm like, they're crazy. I'm with a bunch of crazy people. What if I okay? And I would just fall asleep. So I went to bed on that night, and I said out loud, and I now know when I say things out loud to be really aware. I said, if I don't have an experience, I'm leaving tomorrow and driving home. Okay. Because I'm with a bunch of Looney Tunes. Yeah. So we go into meditation the next morning, and we lay down, and we're going to some place I've never heard of, something called Lemuria. Okay. And
yeah, well, obviously we know what Lemuria is now, yes, but at the time you wouldn't have done. Yeah.
No. And all I know is, so we do this meditation, and I'm conscious during it, and I hear my voice as we're coming out of meditation. I hear myself speaking out loud, and I know it's not in my head. I'm actually speaking, and I'm saying, I have my tail again. I have my tail again. I have full memory of being a mermaid. Full memory.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, whoa. Oh, even as I sit now, the hair on my arm is standing. Yeah. And it wasn't a dream. I was fully conscious, and I knew the difference. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm crazy too. Okay. Wow. So the next several days, I went in and out of experiences. Some I slept through, some I didn't. It was, and then here's the pivotal point that was to this day, the most profound experience I've ever had with spirit. And I've had many. And it was the full moon. And we went into meditation in the morning. We were laying down, and we were doing clearing on the heart chakras or something. And I don't remember the meditation piece at all. I just remember partway through, we're laying on the floor, and I'm literally physically pinned to the floor. And there is it's like it's raining in the room, like raindrops falling on you, but it's light. And I am being showered with light beyond anything I've ever experienced. And I'm laying there, and the closest thing I can explain it to would be an orgasm through your whole physical body, everywhere. Yeah. And I can't move. And I hear, when you hear down the tunnel, I hear down the tunnel my teacher say, okay, come back now. It's time to but it's so far away.
Yeah.
I can't move, and nor do I want to.
Yeah.
And so I'm laying there, and I can hear the people in the room starting to get up and move. And I'm just in full ecstasy, in full bliss, like I've never, ever experienced. Like, it just makes me want to cry. It was so amazing. And then all of a sudden I kind of hear the teacher, stop, sit back down. Something's happening with Anna Larai. And so it continues, and I can't move. And they're just, and bliss.
Flooding you with light.
Oh yeah, it was just waves and waves and rainfalls and storms of light into my body. And then finally I could open my eyes and move my fingers, but it's still coming in. And then eventually I was able to sit up, and that's all I could do. And they're all waiting. And I went like this, because we're in a circle. And so now everybody's sitting, and I'm like this. And so they all come closer, and we hold hands, and the whole light went through the whole group twice. And everyone in the room felt it as they touched me, and the circle went. And so we then broke for lunch, and I was still in this, I could hardly move. Like, I had to have someone help me. And one of the girls wanted to come and hug me. And, you know, she got about 2.5 meters away, 8 feet. And I could feel the energy not even allow her come near me. And she tried twice, and she's like, oh, it's so strong, I can't come near you. And then one other person tried, and I felt the energy kind of push them back and not even let them near me. And it was the most profound. It really was, for me, the pivotal point that really started me.
Such an awakening, right? Such an awakening.
Yeah. And I realized that guides told me later that I was an empty cup. So I hadn't done anything that life in terms of spirituality. I hadn't read any of the spiritual books, you know, the Celestine prophecy. I hadn't played with crystals. I hadn't done anything. So everyone else was a full cup that they'd have to empty. And that really started.
How old were you? What was your age?
I was in my, I want to say I was in my 30s, my late 30s.
Would you have been your early? Because the Saturn return is like 27 to 32, if I'm right. And I was 27 when I had my awakening. I was about 27. Obviously, I'm 51 now. So I was about 27. And it's astrologers that I've spoken to have said between that sort of age and 32 or something, it's a really pivotal time.
Well, let me see. You know what? I can tell you how old I was, because I was 44. I had the year it happened. So I was 44. So it was late for me.
That was late. Yeah, because when I was 27, I had not the same experience, but something where you have no control over it, literally. And if I'm not going to go into the full experience here, but episode 1 of my podcast tells my story. You know, so later on, perhaps go back and have a listen to episode 1 if you're listening to this now. And essentially, it is the moment when I was an empty cup as well, because I was a psychologist, you know, I definitely was not into anything like that. I liked the moon, and that was about it, really. And so I think I was an empty cup. And that was a really interesting thing that you said there, because, you know, it's almost like a blank canvas for spirit to come in and work through you. And that's really interesting, because I would think that there are many people at the moment in this world that are this blank canvas. And this leads us a bit later on to talk about Ascension. But it could be that many people, when they're listening to this now, Anna Larai, our stories, that maybe this is going to really ring true for them. Yeah. And, you know, who knows what's going on in the world for other people at the moment. But that is such an incredible story, because you had no idea, did you? I mean, you know, there was a massive leap of faith. You went there, you had no idea. I was the same with doing transcendental meditation. I had no idea how I was going to pay for it, but I was drawn to it, and that was a massive opening for me. So you know, so all of these things happen to us synchronicities, if you're listening to this and you have synchronicities, then 100% you're being guided. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing that happened is that, from this experience, we had she called then a pod, and we were working together for the next year, and I was going to be one of the assistant pod, or looking after the group, and we were supposed to meditate
A podder you could have
yeah,
been.
podder. And you know what, I'll be really honest with people here. So is that, and we always did the full moon, and you did the 3 days before and the 3 days after the full moon, because that was critical. And I couldn't meditate. So even though I'd done this, I would go in every full moon, the 3 days before the 7 days, and I would sit there and I would close my eyes and I would meditate. And I think, okay, it must be an hour now. I'd open my eyes and I'd have been 2 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't. And I would try and try and try, no matter what I did, because I'd chatter, because I was a businesswoman. I, worked in HR. I solved problems.
You're in your left brain, you're in your analytical,
Oh, yeah. And so one day, I think we're about a year in, I was still trying, I don't know how I was so persistent, and so patient with it. And I got up and I thought, okay, yeah, I've been 10 minutes. Oh, well, I tried. And I looked up and I'd been in an hour. So I realized I'd finally gotten in. And by that time, the second retreat was coming around. And, so I did several retreats, and that's where on the third retreat, she looked at me at the break, the same teacher, and said, okay, you're channeling. And the next, I'm like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. Oh, yeah, you are. And so that's, I had no intention of doing any of this. I was just going to learn about me. And it propelled me. But my life is all about spirit now. It's my business. I met my husband that way. We found our house this way. It's how I live my life, like you do. Yeah. And I can't imagine it any other way.
No. But I don't know about you. I mean, I was a little bit younger when I had my awakening, but I know that the thought of the responsibility at the time, that when you know who you are, in the sense of a soul having a human experience, and that it's love, like there's nothing else, that came with quite a responsibility. Because you couldn't be unkind, not that I necessarily want to be. You couldn't be unkind. You couldn't do anything that was not very nice, because instantly the reflection would be there. And it was so interesting. And the responsibility of knowing who you were. And actually in those days, which was the late 80s, 90s, people just didn't talk about it. Whereas now we can talk about it freely and people understand what we're talking about. But at the time, I couldn't really do that, So it depends on when people are in the world awakening, depending on how they can step out of the spiritual closet or not,
Yeah. It was interesting because, when you say that, I had an experience that was really kind of eye-opening. Just 2 years ago, I met, I lived and worked in Moscow for 8 years in Russia during all the changes. And I wasn't awake at all then. I mean, at all. And I happened to meet what was a good friend of mine at the time in Moscow. And he was a Cypriot and he was working in Moscow. We were really good buddies and we hung out a lot. And we were each other's wingmen and such. And anyway, he came to one of my spiritual events because it was in the Netherlands and he was there. And I hadn't seen him in years. And I overheard him talking about me with a group of people. And it was really interesting because you talk about the kindness. And I thought that I had changed so much with my spiritual awakening. And I heard him say, oh no, she's always been this loving. She's always been, ever since I know her, she was so kind and loving. And so this, and I was kind of like, oh, so it was this kind of surprise to me to hear his perception.
Beautiful, though.
Yeah.
And I think inherently everybody is, right. I really truly believe that we're born that because it's who we are inherently, and it's only the environment and circumstances and fear and trauma that leads us to make choices that perhaps aren't from a loving place, really.
Yeah.
You know, so, and Lorraine, we go on the tele summits together, don't we? We're on different shows, and you know, we're interviewed quite a lot on these, and we have, you know, we help the collective. But would you say that at the moment, you know, we're in this space of right in the ascension? Should we talk a bit about the ascension? Because I know there's quite a lot of different thoughts around what that is. Should we talk about what ascension is?
Yeah. Well, for me, the word we use, we being my guides, all of them use, we call it the Great Awakening, and it's the same thing as the Ascension, but I know Ascension is a more common term, and we call it the Great Awakening. And you know, it's been happening, been gearing up for some time, and my guides really tell me that we're in the midst of it right now. We're in the thick of it, and but it's not what people think it is.
It's showing me sort of like, you know, clairvoyantly showing me sort of almost like one of those tornadoes, but like a small one, and it's just like we're in the middle of that tornado coming towards us, but in a space of nothing to fear. You know, it's kind of interesting how that's coming across.
Yeah, it's so the thing that came up recently that I thought was really interesting is the guides talked about how what people thought it was going to be. So people thought, you know, and I know people, probably I was one of them, and you know, that what we hoped it would be is that the angels appear, and that you see the ships, and you know, the Syrians and the Venusians and the Lyrians and the Arcturians and everybody else we know comes to Earth, and all of humanity goes, oh, you're not crazy, and all of humanity goes, we're not alone, and you know, the school systems change, and the debt's erased, and the planet moves into peace. You know, like that's I think the vision that many of us have held. And so recently, you know, the guide said, you know, hey guys, this isn't what it looks like. And I know that's been really hard for people. The same thing in 2012 when people felt, you know, something was going to happen, and
2011.
You know?
It was like 2011, I think, was coming up, and then 2012, and then it was like, oh, well, when is this actually going to happen? And there are quite a few channels that say, well, when's it happening? When's it happening? But we both feel, don't we? And we spoke about this before we actually started recording. We both feel that we're actually in it, like we're in it. And it is a massive awakening within. You know, we had to go within, right? We had to physically go within our homes and so on, but we actually also had to go within, didn't we?
Yeah, it's all of the stuff my guides talk about is that it's really right now the process is remembering who you are on all levels, not who you are as a human, who you are as a soul, as a being of light. And it's not about remembering your past lives or even your gifts. The critical piece here is it's about remembering the oneness that we are.
I always say this, like the unified field of light, like we are one, aren't we? You know, you are me, I am you, we are everything. And that's a hard thing for sometimes. Let's just pause that for a moment, because when we think that we are the government, we are those that are, you know, not showing us kindness, let's just say, not us personally, but the collective. We are everything. That is a hard one for sometimes for all of us to understand, because we might not see ourselves as the UK government. I don't really want to be known as Boris, to be honest, you know, or, you know, Trump at the time. But it's more about the soul's essence. And I remember saying to my children many years ago, so I have two children, 13 and 12, and I remember saying to them, everyone in those cars is a light exactly like you. So when we get in our car, we're a light and they're a light, and we're all the same, and we're just all driving down the road together. And I tried to help them to remember, and they've obviously been brought up with this anyway, remembering who they are. But it is that incredible light, isn't it, that we are. And we take off this jacket, and underneath is just the complete knowing of unconditional love and why we came. And then you put the jacket on and the hood and everything, and and it's like, oh no, I have a physical body. Oh my goodness, I couldn't possibly do that. And that's when we start to forget who we are, don't we? Like when the jacket goes on. So yeah, it is a great awakening, definitely.
It's been so interesting because, it's not what we thought. It's not what we want it to be, but that's not our choice, what we want it to be or how we think it should be. When we're working with the guides often and we're bringing love and light into the planetary grids, they say, keep your expectations out of it. You think it should be this, you're coming from this human standpoint of this really small perspective, and you're not like this. And you have to trust. You really have to trust. And
such a key, isn't it? Trust, such a key,
really.
And also living in the moment, it's, and that's, one of the hardest things I think for people to live in the moment. And, as you were when you stepped into your leap of faith, and you lived in the moment and said, I'll spend that money on a retreat that I didn't even know I wanted to go on, let's say. And you stepped in the moment. I very rarely plan. Obviously we've got things happening. I've got things happening in September, and you have as well. And we have all of these things, but I find it, an interesting thing to plan my diary. Yeah. Because it's almost like, well, we do that, but actually the timelines change all the time, and we have to go with those timelines. Now I'm supposed to be in Hawaii teaching in November. At the moment, we can't go out of the UK. So, who knows what's going to happen. So we just have to live in that present moment of trust. And I think trust that you just said, Anna Larai, is the key thing for us all. Knowing we're protected and trust.
Yeah, it is a critical piece. And I would say, especially for people like you and I who channel, if you can't come to this space of absolute trust, then you can't really do it. No. Because to me, if you're going to channel, and you have to be able to hold a love vibration, and there's lots out there that bring through information, but you need to be able to bring through the love and light, and the clarity. And I'll be honest,
and to surrender to it as well.
Get out of the way.
Yeah, to get out of the way of it instead of getting involved with it. Just like let it go and let the love come through.
Let it come through, because I don't want my perception filters interfering. So I have to get out of the way so that I can be a clear channel. And but all of us, whether you channel or not, it's really about having that faith and that trust in spirit, and in your guides, and in your inner voice and inner self, that because you'll always feel it. You can feel the truth. You can feel the vibrations of love. And if you start to live your life day to day more in what it feels like, rather than what the news is telling you or social media is telling you, it really is a guiding force in this time of awakening. Because right now there's so much contradictory information out there, and we're being bombarded and
discerning as well. Like, I spoke to you about this personally, didn't I? But the discernment that there's almost like a discernment now with spiritual teachers as well, and this is not to judge anyone at all, but just to say, well, actually, does that book resonate with you? Does that person resonate with you? Do you feel, even they may be saying exactly what you think, but does the feeling and the vibration resonate with you? And I think that's what I talk to my groups about. I say, look, if this resonates with you, if this feels right, go for it. If it doesn't feel right, then it's either not the right vibrational match, or it's not the right time, or something like that. And I think we are discerning between who we feel drawn to be connected to. Whereas before it would just be, well, there's the spiritual people, and they're a bit funny and weird. And then there's the people that aren't spiritual at all. And there's obviously the religious, and that's another section of society. But now it's a huge amount of people that are speaking the spiritual message. And now I think we're having to discern, because some spiritual teachers are promoting the fear, which obviously is not what this is all about, is it?
And that's, thank you for that word fear, because that's one of the things that I've learned, is that always, if you're really working with beings of great light and the highest frequencies, there's never any fear. It's not about fear. Sometimes there might be a warning, or, and for my guides, it's always your choice. They will always honor whatever you choose because it's your experience.
Exactly.
But sometimes they'll recommend, but there's never fear. It's never about manipulation or fear. It's always about free will, about choice, and they lay out the choices. And they may say, we would recommend this, but it's your choice. And so when I hear spiritual teachers or channelings or that are all in fear, I'm like, okay, no, this just doesn't resonate. It doesn't resonate. And if you can't feel the truth and the love in it, then I always wonder what it is. I read something from a channel, someone sent me something, and I don't read a lot of other spiritual material, because really, from my guide standpoint, I don't want to be prejudiced about what else is out there. So that so when I bring stuff through,
it does come into our experience, doesn't it? It does come in, like little bits and pieces do come in. Yeah.
But what happened is, it was really interesting. I was reading this article, and then there was this whole paragraph, or this channeling, and my whole body, I'm like, oh my gosh, this isn't true at all. This is absolute not true. And I'm like, wow, how could someone do this? And I assume that they don't know that it isn't true, that they are bringing information that is not, that's never their intention to bring through.
No,
but it's being spread out there, and people see spiritual and they think it means correct, and it doesn't.
Absolutely, and it doesn't. And it's the same with religion. Religion has had its place, and it really helps people with identity, or it did help people with identity, and that's really important. But there's obviously lots of different ways of looking at that as well, and it's like you discern, don't you? Like, do you believe in that? Do you believe in that? Does that resonate? And it now, I think, if we help people with something here, Anna and I, it's to really come into your heart space. And so if you feel drawn to go on a course, or you feel drawn to have a session with someone, come into your heart space first and feel it, and feel if it feels right, because your heart and your soul is never, ever going to misguide you. If you do something from a place of fear, I have to do this, I have to do that, I'm told to do this, so I should do it. You know where I'm going with this, right? If you do it from a place of fear, then, or somebody else's fear, the guides are just saying, or somebody else's fear, if you do it from somebody else's perception of what you should do as well, is a fear as well, then that's never a time to make a choice.
No. And let's be honest, when we make choices out of fear, and we've all done them throughout our life, we've all done that. And the whole planet's doing it right now, right? Where choices are being made out of fear. But 9 out of 10 times, 99% of the time, it's not the best decision for us, because it's made from a space of fear. So when you can get to that space of love and make a decision, then you're always going to be making a better decision for yourself.
Exactly.
So if you're trying to make a decision right now, if you can get to, even if you can't get to a space of love, go to a space of neutrality or peace, and see if
hands on the heart, right? Just come back to that heart. And I think that even if you can't meditate, it doesn't matter, don't do anything, just sit with your hands on your heart, just for one moment. And I think just in that one moment, and ask for guidance as well. Just say, please, like Anna Lorai did, when she said, well, you're gonna have to show me, or else I'm not sticking around. So in your case, if you're trying to make a decision about something, and maybe it's about something about your body, maybe it's about something about travel, maybe it's about something about a workplace, whatever, a relationship, there's a lot of that going on at the moment, then just come into your heart and just say, please, can you help me make this choice? And I think that is just a very simple thing, isn't it? To help people with. And
I think, with the Ascension, one of the things I would say to people is, one of the critical things, in my opinion, every day, take even 1 minute. If you can take 3, great. If you can take 20, that's great too. And connect to pure source light every day, and just bring that pure source light into your body every day. So you're getting.
You think a shower? I think sometimes if people say I haven't got time or anything, like most people have a shower every day. So I always sort of encourage, like, well, just imagine as you're having your shower that's light and it's cleansing you. Yeah.
That's a perfect
just
way
a quick, like, little thing, because I know what it's like, when you think you need to do something, you very rarely find the time to do it, right? So it's the same thing, isn't it? You're having a shower, you're washing your physical body, but you're also cleansing your crystalline field and your aura.
Yeah. And, and those simple things, it used to be people would spend an hour and they'd have a routine, and you don't need to do that anymore. You just don't.
I've never done that. Yeah.
No, me neither. Me neither.
No.
I'm
Couple
not
minutes.
for rigid rules with all of this. It's like be in the moment, be in the flow, and and just connect yourself and connect to source. And then if you the other piece is consciously connect to your highest self. So it's been interesting because my guides have stopped using the term higher self, HIGHER, and now they say highest. So high EST.
Yeah.
And whether people call that your I am presence, your soul, your whatever, they've chosen the words that are clear for everybody, whatever it is. Now we're connecting to your highest self, and we're always connected.
Yeah.
But we want to do it consciously to help with the remembering.
Can you explain to those that don't understand the difference between higher self and guides and higher self? Can you explain that?
Yeah. For me, I love having guides, and I wouldn't have survived with them. And to me, my guides, most of my guides are other beings of light, enlightened ones, you may call them. Some people call them ascended masters, angels, who have had experiences mostly on earth and are of higher vibrations. They are in different dimensions or even above the dimensions, and they come through to help me. Okay. Yeah. They're beings I channel. My highest self is me. It's the soul,
soul self.
Soul self. And so the best person to listen to is always me, is my highest self.
That's how I would explain it. It would be like the I am presence, which you said before. So the I am presence is me. And then the incredible beings that we work with, the incredible beings.
Isn't it interesting that most of us, and it's still okay, trust outside people rather than ourselves? So that's why I think so many of us start with guides, because we're excited to hear those other beings. We're excited to hear those messages. And they're a little closer, usually in a vibrational space, that it's easier to hear them. And so my guides now talk about consciously connect every day. So when you're doing your shower or brushing your teeth, just consciously envision that light that you're connected to, that is on all the other dimensions and above all the dimensions. So that information and that love and light starts to flow more into the here and now for you.
And you could just test that, like at the moment I'm doing a celery, 7-day celery. See what happens when you have celery first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. I'm doing that. So you could do like a 7-day. If you're listening to this, you could do like a 7-day. I'm going to do maybe celery if you want to, but you could do, all right, okay, so I'm going to have a shower. Every morning I have my shower. I'm going to connect with that true light within me, and I'm going to set that intention, and I'm going to do it for 7 days, and I'm going to see how I feel. Because those kind of things, I think, we don't know what we don't know, and it's kind of listening, isn't it, to that part of us that gets guided. And once you get into the habit of it, it's like a telephone line, isn't it, when you're talking to your guides? But when you're talking to yourself, when you're coming into your true self, that's a very different energy. And no one knows anything better than you. We're channels, we're guides, we can help you, but you really do know those answers, and it comes within, and you've chosen an incredible time to be here. You might not feel like it, but you've chosen an incredible time to be here on this earth. And I always say this to people, and it's like, well, why would I choose that? I'm like, why wouldn't you choose that? You know, why wouldn't you expand, you know, this incredible light that you have and show, you know, who you are in the world, you know, to help others. It's always about service without detriment to yourself. But, you know, it's always about service. But I just want to, Anna, can you just say how people can get hold of you? I just want you to give your website and so on.
Thank you. My website is sparklesoflove.love. So you'll see all kinds of stuff on there. I've got some free meditations, and we just updated my website, and it's kind of funny, as I was saying to Susan, I have over 100 recordings on there of channelings of over 70 light beings that are all current with every topic you could imagine. And then all my classes are on there, and
amazing.
So it's just, and you should probably, when you go there, you'll feel the energy, because it's my energetic platform, my website. So yeah,
and if they feel drawn to that, so, you know, sparklesoflove.love, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, beautiful. Our kitten's called Sparkle. I love the word sparkle. So if you go to that website and you go on and just feel into that energy, you may feel drawn to specific channels, and that might be, you know, your guides, you know, helping you decide, or it might be your inner I am presence helping you decide. But always sit with your heart and then just feel into it. Same as when you're choosing a crystal, right? So you feel into it. And what can you said, Anna Larai, that you're running something in September. What are you running in September?
Well, one of the things I do as divine service for the planet is I channel the Alchemy Collective Consciousness. And they're a group of light beings that come across time and space when a planet is awakening. And I have been doing this for 8 years now. They came through completely unexpected. It was the first collective I've ever channeled. And every time a planet reaches this vibration and starts the awakening process, then beings from other planets who've already done that come to be part of the alchemy. And so we do free global meditations every Tuesday. We alternate morning and evening. They're on our website, the alchemycollective.org. But once or twice a year, we'll go back to twice a year, we have a spiritual retreat for a week. And so it's this one's in Canada because we can't travel. And only Canadians can come with us live, but the rest is online. And it's 5 full days of meditation and divine service for the planet. But it's for people, you get huge, huge, huge energetic shifts and upgrades for yourself. But we do our biggest planetary work there. And the alchemy are really quiet about it. So we never publish what is done. We never... They just go in and do it. And, you know,
you can be part of that big transformation.
They're asking me to share one piece. We've shared it once publicly. So I guess, so it's like, okay,
it's what you have to do. You have to say it. You have to say it.
Yeah. So in our last big gathering, which was a year and a half ago, when everybody else on the planet was looking the other way and there was all kinds of stuff going on, we did this tremendous work, and they brought in the highest timeline for planet Earth, and they anchored it in so it could never be changed. So nothing could prevent everything.
What was planned, you know, in this awakening.
The divine timeline.
Amazing.
So what other beings want, the divine timeline was anchored. So the highest,
Our reception went a little bit there, but I did hear what you said, and it was nothing to prevent this timeline, the highest potential timeline, because obviously timelines are, you know, things that we have to raise our consciousness, don't we, to help the planet raise its consciousness. But that sounds amazing. So people can get hold of you there on your website, and they can also find out about that treat. They can join you for free each Tuesday, is that right? for meditation. They find all that on your website. I know that you're across social media as well. Because we're on social media, of course, at this point in time. Who knows what will happen in the future with social media? We will see. What else do I want to say? Because we're coming to an end, because the reason why I'm coming to an end is because I'm feeling that what I would really love, if this feels right to your team, it's what I'm being guided to do, is to really give my community that are listening just 1 minute, not long, but just 1 minute of some guidance of channeling around how we can help the collective at this time.
Okay.
I
knew I was supposed to do. What I'm going to do, and I will. So I'll probably be in just a minute or two. Is I'm going to bring in the diamond light, and that is what they call the Ascension energy waves. They carry the codes of remembrance of who you are on all levels. And
so when we've done that, what we're going to do, so if you're listening to this, so just so you know, we're going to do that, and then we're going to close. Okay, so please get in contact with Anna Rai at her website, sparksoflove.love, and this will be across all social media. So if you've missed this, just listen to it again, and can't wait to connect with you another time on the Spiritual Awakening podcast. Okay, so Anne-Laurie, let's hold the space for these incredible, and if you could tell us who's coming in as well.
Yeah, so just close your eyes, everybody, and just feel now as we bring in pure source light. And I'm going to bring in the Alchemy Collective Consciousness. Greetings, beloved ones. We are the Alchemy. And it is our pleasure and honor to be present with the Susan One and all of you this day. And the diamond lights are what you call the next wave of ascension energies. They carry the codes of remembrance of who you are on all levels. And so we shall begin with the base light, which is white. And see or feel now as we bring the white diamond light down into your soul star chakra and down into your crown. Into your third eye. And this white diamond light begins to saturate the brain. The amygdalas coating the fear center, the pineal and pituitary glands, the optic nerves. And it flows down the neck to the throat chakra and across your shoulders and down all the way to the fingertips. And feel as this white diamond light moves into the higher heart and into the heart space. And it fills the heart chakra and moves into the solar plexus and into all of the organs of the body. It moves in and saturates the nervous system. And all the muscles, the skeleton, and all the body systems. The energetic systems, down into the sacral and root chakra, into the reproductive organs. And we share with you, beloved ones, normally we do this in a much slower pace, but we just want to give you a taste and support you these days as this white diamond light continues to flow down the legs. And the Susan One asked for words to assist people And what we would say is very simple. To support humanity and the Great Awakening, to support Mother Gaia, what we would simply say is be kind to one another, to be gentle with the self and gentle with Gaia. But this kindness is so critical in these difficult times. And the other thing we would say is to stay out of judgment, to remember everyone has their own story and their own journey. And you are all love. We invite you to join us on Tuesdays or listen to our recordings, to be part of this divine service and to receive these beautiful gifts in your own awakening. We are the alchemy. And I'm just going to remind everyone to drink lots of water.
Thank you so much. That was absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Oh, I'm just tingling.
Oh, so I really felt it as well. I was really in that. So I'm sure if you're listening to this or watching it, you can feel that light flow within you. I can hardly speak because my guy's really, really, really close, very, very close to me. Can you see it? It's like, can you see the energy? They're like,
Yeah, it's like, whoa.
Stepped right in, like, step back a bit. Come back, yeah, that's better. Okay, so thank you so much, Laura. It's been an absolute pleasure. I have absolutely loved every moment of our conversation, and I'm sure that my listeners have as well. Thank you so much for being on the Spiritual Awakening.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This has been fun.
Much love to you. Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. See you very soon.
Bye-bye.